go ahead and check out the interior. That's kind of the downside of the 170 chassis.
This is a pretty nice car. Really performed really well. Very unexpected.
Interior's junk. World Cup secret, in my opinion.
Hey everyone, welcome back to DC Motorworks. Today we've got a R170. This is the first generation SLK, and today we're going to decide, is this a well-kept secret or does it really deserve the bad reputation that it has? Let's check it out. So this is actually probably the best example or most desirable of the SLK. You could argue it is the SLK 32 AMG with the 350 horsepower supercharged V6. But this one is a little more special because this is a SLK 320, but with the 6-speed manual. So there are only two ways to get a manual in these. It was either with the 230 with the 4-cylinder supercharged motor or with the naturally aspirated V6. And this is a later production with the sport package, as you can see noted on the fender there, but gives it a little bit more muscular appearance. You know, you got the power dome here up on the hood, but go ahead and check out the interior. That's kind of the downside of the 170 chassis, is that the interiors did not hold up. It was their kind of early take at the soft touch plastics and so forth, where they have that coating and it scratches off and it peels. And this one is a nice low mileage example, so it's not as bad, but the plastics tend to crumble on these. Anytime you go to take anything apart, it just crumbles in your hands. But like I said, this one's in pretty nice shape, so it looks much better. But the seats have held up pretty well, and you can see the nice 6-speed manual there, which is the piece de resistance of this car. And if we pop the hood, we'll see the M112 3.2 liter V6 that Mercedes used for a number of years. And these made about 215 horsepower and thereabouts in torque. But the nice thing about these engines is that they really need nothing. They're super easy to maintain. You do your valve cover gaskets because they leak all the time. Your pulleys, your spark plugs, just kind of normal maintenance work, but these will easily go 300,000 miles without issue. And you can see just how simple this car is. That's kind of the appeal of this. It was the entry-level convertible with the benefit of being the first car with the hardtop retractable roof. So let's go ahead and see how that works now. So all you have to do here is get in, turn the key on, and just like in the 129 SLs, which we've had videos on before, your roof button is shaped like a roof. So hard to miss, and it is red. You maybe can see there. And all you do is pull it back and everything is done on its own. So we'll go ahead and get the action of that happening. Just like that, you're ready for some top-down motoring. So you do have a nice windscreen here to help with the wind buffeting. I have noticed that the wind buffeting is a little worse on this than a CLK or an SL. Maybe didn't get quite as much development with that. But we'll see here in the back, what kind of space is there with the roof down? It's actually not too bad. You can get, you know, a nice duffel bag or two in there if you want to take a weekend trip. One of the tough parts, if you're over 6 feet like myself, it is tough to find the balance of how far you can have the seat back without the seat back hitting the back of the car here. But we'll go ahead and put the roof back up. We'll get set up and we'll showcase this nice 6-speed manual. Oh, we got Andy here. Let's go grab him. All right, we're trying to decide. Well-kept secret or junk?
That's good stuff. Interior's junk.
But you like it? You drove it? You like it?
Rest of it's nice. Shift's good. Got good power. Makes a pretty good sound for a V6.
And it's your favorite, the 112.
113. 113.
2 cylinders missing, but hey. Who's counting,
It's
right?
almost there.
Let's go see what the rest of the guys have to say. All right, Blake was the tech on the SLK, so we're going to get his opinion. Was it well-kept secret or junk?
It was a pretty nice car. Really performed really well. Very unexpected.
I know, I think we were all caught by surprise by that one because working at the dealer and years of working on those cars, they're they're kind of known as the, I don't know, what do you call it, the redheaded stepchild?
Kind of.
Kind of junk, but hey, this one's a good surprise. Evan, what do you say? The R170, well-kept secret or junk?
Well-kept secret, in my opinion. I think they're good little cars. They're fun, small things, and a small car is hard to get nowadays.
With a V6.
With a V6?
Better than your Miata? Stock to stock, stock to stock.
Stock to stock? Okay, fine, I'll give you that. Yeah.
His Miata's turbocharged, so it's a little bit of a different ball game, but
But no replacement for displacement. V6 has got that going for it.
all right. Consensus is, you have to let us know what you think in the comments, but our consensus is here, well-kept secret. So if you're looking for a small, fun convertible, look for a SLK 320 with a 6-speed. And I'm gonna get this phone call, so we'll see y'all later. So here we are going for a quick test drive in the SLK 320. We just finished some service work on this car, fixed a couple leaks. So we're just gonna make sure those leaks are fixed by test driving for a couple miles. But again, this is the 320, so it does have the bigger engine for the manual transmission. One weird thing about the manual on these is it's like a cable to a weird linkage, so it does have a kind of a strange feel. But if in 1998-ish, when you were shopping for a small convertible, this was a nice alternative to like a Z3 BMW, or you could even kind of cross shop it with a Miata if you want to spend a little more. But the big benefit here was it was the first one to offer a hardtop, which gives you, you know, all year round driving capability. You can see it's pretty simple in here. You get manual climate controls, and that's kind of what the benefit of these is now, of why you could consider them a well-kept secret. There's no fancy suspensions, there's no fancy automatic climate control. It's just a simple radio, simple buttons, no crazy amount of modules or anything like that. Everything is a nice manual switch. But the downside is the what we call Fisher-Price plastics. You can see on the glove box door there that it has been kind of like repainted and so forth, and that's because they put this soft touch coating on the hard plastics to make them feel a little more premium, but it did not age well, which was common from many cars from this era. Volkswagen was very bad about it, and but this one, like I said, has been kept pretty well and nothing's broken, but these tend to crack and so forth. And you get a little nicer equipment with the 320. You get your nice wood steering wheel here, some bits of wood trim, and you do get some soft touch materials like actual, you know, vinyl or something. You know, you get tops of your door panels here. The dash is covered in a somewhat soft touch material, which makes it feel a little better. The 320s were nicer than just a base 4-cylinder, and you get a nice torquey V6 engine, and it's super easy to drive. The clutch is light, shifter's easy, and it is quite a tight handling little car, which to the surprise of some, this is still a old recirculating ball steering system and not a more modern rack and pinion. But Mercedes had these pretty well figured out by this time frame from using them for a number of years, and it actually steers pretty well. Got a nice exhaust note there and a decent amount of power. Like I said, 215 horsepower. And the gearing is pretty close, but you still get a decent overdrive that, you know, we're doing 60 miles an hour here and we're cruising about 2,400 RPM. You may notice a little extra wind noise and some of those things, but as these have depreciated, if you're cross-shopping other small convertibles of the time, honestly, I think it's a great choice. Just because it is so simple, and there's really not much to worry about these cars. Even, you know, when you hear about convertible roofs and having to rebuild the hydraulic cylinders and everything, compared to a SL, this has like nearly half the amount of hydraulic cylinders and it's super easy to get to because of the simple design and doesn't require a lot of labor in order to rebuild them. It's also not like the later SL, the 230 chassis. Like I say, we talk about those a lot, but where the hydraulic lines are fixed to the cylinders and you have to trace the lines all the way back to the pump. These can be removed right at the mounting point, which makes them super easy to service. And rev match downshift nice and easily, nice and smooth. You've got the bigger brakes. So if you're just looking for something fun to run around in and not have to worry about, and you get some nicer stuff compared to a cheaper car, but the best part is you get that bulletproof M112 that makes a good noise, makes great power, great torque for the size, and that you're not going to get in a bunch of trouble by tossing this car around and getting into the power band. So I know, y'all tell us what you think. Is this a hidden gem, well-kept secret? Or is it really deserving of the reputation that it has all these years later? Thank you all for watching, and we appreciate you and look forward to seeing you on the next video. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more.